No one noticed her until the chair scraped loudly across the floor, and by then, it was already too late to pretend she wasn't there. Before this story pulls you into a moment you'll never forget, take a second to like the video and subscribe to the channel, because stories like this don't just entertain, they remind us who we are when no one is watching. She had been sitting near the glass doors of the cafe for almost 20 minutes. Rain streaked down the windows in thin gray lines, blurring the city outside, and every time the door opened, a cold draft brushed her face. Her wheelchair was angled awkwardly, one wheel slightly crooked, the brake loose. Her hands rested protectively over her pregnant belly, fingers trembling as if she were silently counting each breath. Her name was Sarah. She was 8 months pregnant, exhausted, and terrified. People walked past her like she was part of the furniture. Some stared for half a second, then quickly looked away. Others sighed in irritation when her wheelchair made the entrance feel narrow. A woman stepped around her and whispered, "Some people really choose inconvenient times," as if Sarah could choose any of this. Sarah swallowed hard. She told herself not to cry. Crying made people uncomfortable, and uncomfortable people were even less likely to help. Just a year earlier, she had been walking, working, dreaming. She had been a schoolteacher who stayed late to help struggling students, a woman who laughed easily and believed love was permanent. Then came the accident, a drunk driver, a broken spine, a doctor who avoided her eyes while explaining she might never walk again. Her husband stayed at first, holding her hand in the hospital, promising forever. But forever grew heavy. Bills piled up. Fear crept in. One night, he packed a bag and said he needed space. He never came back. Now here she was, alone, pregnant, disabled, and invisible. Her back ached. Her baby kicked restlessly, reacting to her stress. She just wanted a warm drink, a place to sit without feeling like a burden, a moment of dignity. But every table was full, every chair taken, every face turned away. Across the room stood a man with tired eyes and a cheap jacket that had seen better days. His name was Daniel, and he was counting coins in his palm, deciding whether he could afford one coffee or two. Outside, his 7-year-old son waited with a neighbor, doing homework on a step because Daniel couldn't bring him inside during the lunch rush. Daniel was a single dad, not by choice but by fate. His wife had died during childbirth 7 years ago, leaving him with a newborn, hospital debt, and a grief that never fully healed. He worked 2 jobs, slept too little, and carried guilt like an extra limb. Guilt that his son grew up without a mother, guilt that he could never give him enough. Daniel noticed Sarah not because of the wheelchair or the pregnancy, but because he recognized the look in her eyes. It was the same look his wife had worn in her final days. Brave, quiet, breaking. He saw how people avoided her. How she shifted uncomfortably, trying to ease her pain without asking for help. How she smiled faintly at a passing couple who didn't even slow down. And something inside him said, if I walk away, I become part of the crowd. So he didn't. He reached for a chair from a nearby table. When he pulled it back, it screeched loudly against the floor. Conversations paused. Heads turned. A few people frowned, annoyed by the noise. Daniel dragged the chair across the cafe and placed it directly in front of Sarah. He sat down, meeting her eyes at the same level, not towering over her, not talking down to her. You've been standing alone long enough, he said softly. Sarah froze. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. No one had spoken to her like that in months. Not with kindness. Not without pity. I'm sorry if I'm in the way, she finally whispered. Daniel shook his head. You're not in the way. You're just in a world that forgot how to stop. Her eyes filled with tears she had been holding back all day. She tried to wipe them away, embarrassed. Daniel slid his untouched coffee toward her. It's still hot, he said. Please. She hesitated. I can't. Yes, you can, he replied gently. Sometimes accepting help is how we survive. That was all it took. The tears came fast and uncontrollable. Sarah cried for the husband who left, for the legs that no longer worked, for the strangers who saw her as an inconvenience instead of a human being. Daniel didn't rush her. He didn't look away. He just stayed. When she finally spoke, the words poured out. Her accident, her pregnancy, her fear of giving birth alone. She confessed she hadn't eaten properly in days, saving what little money she had for baby clothes she wasn't even sure she'd know how to use. Daniel listened like every word mattered. My son was born the night my wife died, he said quietly when she finished. I was terrified. I thought I wouldn't survive it. But love shows up when you don't think you're strong enough. Sarah placed a hand over her belly as her baby kicked again, harder this time. They talked for nearly an hour. Daniel bought her soup, ignoring his empty wallet. He adjusted her wheelchair when it slipped. He made her laugh, really laugh, for the first time in months.